Hi, nobodies. And I mean, seriously, like, nobody watches me except apparently one person who said flat out, nobody cares about your problems, lady. Isn't that kind of what's wrong with the world? I mean, I'm not saying you should care about everybody's problems and my little gripes. I'm not going to deny. My gripes are first world problems for the most part. Um, I don't know what it's like to be a black person. I don't know what it's like to be so poor that you literally don't have anything to eat. I don't know those things. So, yeah, my problems, I mean, the fact that I could buy an S9 just straight out says that I don't have a lot of the problems that a lot of people are struggling with. But I don't post when I'm griping about something, it is to get it off of my chest. I don't expect anybody to watch it. I don't expect them to watch the whole video or to comment like, hey, I don't want to see this. Just turn it off. I mean, what was it George Carlin said about a minister not liking what he heard on the radio? And he said, well, anybody ever told you that there's two knobs? But he wouldn't be comfortable with anything that has two knobs on it. It's the same with YouTube. If you don't like what you see, click it off. Watch something else. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm just doing me. And I would never, ever say to another human being, nobody gives a shit. I would never say that. Because if it bothers them, I'm not going to invalidate them. Because that's bothering them. So even if I truly don't give a shit, I'll listen to them. I'll let them get it out of their system. Tell me what's wrong. And I'll try to be nice and give them a response. You know, like I said, nobody watches these. So, like, if you're going to make a negative comment, it's kind of like, why even bother? I mean, why? I don't post negative comments on anybody's stuff, even if I hate it. Like seriously, I could watch something where somebody was, saying Hitler was like the best man to ever live. I would not comment. I also would not watch the whole video or anything like that. I'd just pass it up. I'd say, pfft, and just go on. It's that simple. It's just like when you're looking at your Facebook feed. If you see something you don't like, scroll. People don't need negativity. They don't. And I don't like people who spread it. I mean, if I'm bitching about something, I'm not trying to spread negativity. I'm trying to spread that I'm just venting. I'm just getting it out of me. Because the sooner the shit is out of your system, the sooner you're cool about things, the sooner you can let it go. And that's the thing. I don't hold on to shit for a long time because I let it go. And one of the best ways to let stuff go is to write it down or to vlog about it or whatever. Whatever you got to do. It works differently for different people. And, that statement alone, I was like, yeah, you're right. Nobody gives a shit about my problems. I'm nobody. We're all nobodies, unless we're somebody. And then it got me thinking when I saw it. I said, the Me Too movement. What they're saying Me Too is shit that's been going on since the dawn of time. Men using power to take advantage of women sexually. It is not new. There are probably billions of victims. It just wasn't a thing until it was like a hashtag. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't talked about. And then all these people are saying Me Too, and they've probably done the shit, in one way or another. They've either been a perpetrator or they've villainized the female because she put charges against the boss that everybody liked. So they said, oh, he didn't do that. I mean, I I worked at a place, and I mean, the Me Too thing isn't just about your own thing. I gotta let a cat out. Go on. It's also about, like, I worked at a place and I didn't care that the boss and one of my coworkers would make comments to me about, like my boss would say, "You're so cute." It didn't bother me. Um, it was sexual harassment, but it didn't bother me because I was like, he's an old man. It ain't ever happening. It's not like he got all graphic or anything. But the one of the other coworkers, she filed charges for sexual harassment. This was back in like 97. She filed charges because it was a hostile work environment. And I was mad that some people left, that some people had to leave. And at the time, I was like, I did it too. At the time, I was like, oh, she's just mad because they wouldn't hit on her pig ass. I was 19 and stupid. And that's the thing, now it's like this big movement and people are acting like it hasn't been happening forever, and it has. Black Lives Matter. Black lives have always mattered, and there have been many times that there have been marches for it, but people are like, oh, I support this movement. Yeah, you can say it. But if you're not actually out there trying to make a difference, like doing a march doesn't make you an activist, really. No, you need to be out there, like, helping people. If you see somebody being treated unequally, no matter what the circumstance is, you're supposed to step up. And even though it's not your problem, and even though their life doesn't mean shit to you, somebody needs to care. We got to stop this whole nobody gives a shit about you. Because that's just really mean. That's why a lot of victims of various things never say anything, because they're told their whole lives, nobody gives a shit about you. Nobody gives a shit about your problems. Nobody likes you. You're worthless. You're unworthy. Just 10 million horrible things that people are told throughout their life. And whether the people who say them are saying them to make that impact or they don't realize that impact, I'm not sure. I guess it depends on the person. But as for myself, I mean, I'm shy and I don't approach people. But if I did see somebody treating somebody like crap, I may not step in while it's happening, but I will say something when they walk off. The only time I did step in, there was a little kid and her mom was being so vicious to her in the store. I mean, at one point she threw her kid against the door to the office at Walgreens. This is how bad this mom was. And I ended up calling the cops. I had a couple of my male coworkers go out there and get the woman. I said, you hear that? That's her throwing her kid against the door. So we went out and got that. But, I knew that I didn't want to tangle with this woman, but I wasn't about to let that happen. I mean, so many other employees were seeing this happen. Customers were seeing this happen, and nobody was stepping in for this little 5 or 6-year-old child. And the way her mother was talking to her, we have got to not do that. We have got to make sure that when we see something like that happening, that we're calling authorities or we're finding people to help us step in and take care of the problem, the problem is that people have their heads up their asses and they don't help people when they can. I'm not saying you're supposed to go out of your way and look for injustice, but everybody has seen stuff that didn't sit well with them, and they did nothing. I mean, what would you do? Does it all the time, shows people not doing the right thing, and then some people doing the right thing. And the thing is when we do the right thing, we help. That one little thing could be the difference between a person turning bad or a person turning good. You know, I mean, there can be positive repercussions to doing the right thing that we don't think about. We don't think about, oh, by seeing this happening and doing nothing, you know, that person might end up dead. That person might end up committing a crime. You know, maybe this guy who's beating on his woman, he wants her to go do something illegal and she doesn't want to. So by not stepping in and helping her, we might be sealing her fate in a prison when it would have just taken a moment. Now, granted, I know, when you're fighting with somebody in public, you may not want people interfering. Might be a totally innocent thing. But I think that human beings need to pay attention to what's going on with other human beings. Not necessarily me, I mean, you can focus on your family, but look around. Just look around, and if you see something wrong, it costs you nothing to say something. To tell somebody, like, hey, it's not always going to be this bad. You don't have to waste a whole day and talk to like every homeless person you see, but you might talk to one every once in a while and see what got them where they're at. Because I mean, some of them are shysters, but some of them are truly homeless, and some of them are pretty dang decent. And I knew a guy. He was just so happy that I let him into the bathroom so he could wash up. He was thankful for that, and I think as human beings, we owe it to other human beings to treat them with a modicum of respect that we want. Because we want that respect. We want people to treat us nice. Nobody says, I want everybody to treat me like shit. I want everybody to talk down to me. I want people to tell me I'm ugly and I'm fat and I'm worthless and I'm useless and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants that. And people are forgetting about that golden rule. And they're not putting themselves in the position of what they see. Like, if my dude was treating me like that, I'd want somebody to say something. If my mom treated me like this mom is treating this little girl, I'd want somebody to help me. I'd want somebody to protect me because she's supposed to protect me and she's not. Those are the kinds of things you got to get your head out of your ass for and say, what would I want? And if you don't feel comfortable stepping in, that's okay. That's okay. If you see a situation and you're like, well, I don't know if that person's got a gun, I might end up getting shot for saying something. I understand that fear. I understand it, and it's perfectly reasonable if you don't want to step in. But it takes just a moment to use your cell phone and say, hey, I'm seeing something. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look good to me. We need an officer out here, And maybe you don't stay and see the resolution because maybe you got other stuff to do. But you know that you did what you could to help a person. Whether it actually helps or not, you won't know if you're not standing there. And, it's cool if you want to be safe and you don't want to butt in or intrude. It's not my business. But we have to remember that a lot of victims, a lot of people who something happens to, they will say people saw and they did nothing. I don't want to be one of the people that person sees that when everything's all said and done and they're all kinds of fucked up in the head because something bad happened. I don't want my face to be a face that they remember as somebody who didn't do anything, who saw it happening and did nothing. Nope. I'm not going to stand there and watch. I'm going to turn around And if I see something wrong, I'm going to call the cops, or I'm going to find a couple of guys around me and say, hey, you carrying? You know, this is wrong. Just like if I see kids playing in my street, I'm watching those kids. I don't have to know who they are, who their parents are. I'm standing out there and I am watching them just in case some son of a bitch decides to abduct one of them. And you can bet your ass I would run out there for a kid. I don't care how big a motherfucker is. I see somebody hit a kid on a bicycle or hit a kid and then try to drag them into a car. I'm on that. I ain't worried at that point, because as a Muslim, if I die trying to save that kid, that's the most honorable death that I can have. Some people might say, well, you could just get the license plate. That doesn't mean shit. No, I want to save the kid. And they're going to have more evidence on me as a murder victim than they would if they never found a kidnapped kid. That's my logic, at least. So, to all of you that don't watch me, and to some of you who do, try to be nice to everybody. I mean, it costs you nothing to keep your negativity to yourself. Unless you feel like having a rant. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a rant about something. Just don't rant to a person. You know, if your problem is with them, don't do it to their face. You know, just kind of put it on paper, write a letter. I try not to be negative, and if I am and that upsets some people, I am sorry, because I truly do not want to bring anybody down. These are more for me than for anybody to watch, to get stuff out of my head. And if somebody happens to watch who feels the same way, I'm hoping that in some way I might help them by saying, well, I never thought about that way. So that is it for me tonight. If nobody's told you today, you are special. You do mean something. And people do love you. It's not me. I love you as a human being until I know better. But no matter how lonely you feel, no matter how much you think people don't love you, no matter how much you think that they won't miss you if you're not here, people do give a shit about other people. You may not feel it, but trust me, I don't care who you are, there are people that care about you. So I wanted to remind everybody of that although the world may tell you that no one cares about you, although your brain might tell you that you are a burden, people care about you. You are loved. And I want everyone to have a good night. When I say that every night, I totally mean that. I want everyone to have a good night. Happy people are good people. So have a good night.